Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Not Illegal Podcast. I'm your host Michael, along with Sabrina, and today we have a very special guest with us, Katia. What's your last name?
Volatova.
Volatova.
Yes.
Did I say that right?
Correct.
Okay, where is that from?
So my last name is Russian. I'm actually Ukrainian. It's a mix of two cultures.
Okay, so you're born and raised in Ukraine.
I was born and raised in Ukraine, but my last name is Russian because my dad was born in Russia.
Okay, how long have you been living in the United States?
7 years. It's been a long time.
Nice. And how do you like it here?
I love it. I belong here.
Yeah. Is it different?
It's very different. The culture is different, obviously. The language is different. But then when you come and make decisions to immigrate, you just adjust, and I feel like I'm as you guys. Like, even though I was not born and raised here, I feel American by now.
But you were not originally coming to California, right? You lived in New York?
I lived in New York for 6 years, yes, and I just...
Woo-hoo.
New York,
Woo-hoo.
New York.
Represent,
A couple New Yorkers over there.
Yeah.
I'm from the East Coast originally also. I'm from
Awesome.
Maine. I don't know if you ever
Yes.
ventured up that
Yeah.
way or you're familiar with it, but yeah. So
Don't you miss New York? I miss New York.
Oh, yeah, let's put it.
I know.
I will miss New York so
Yeah,
much.
we're gonna dig a tunnel back to New York somehow.
yeah, the East Coast is the best coast. But what do you do out here in the United States now? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, it's a long way. Let's start with when I moved. I started working in hospitality business, and I grew to that point where I was working as a maitre d'. Maitre d' it's just a fancy French word for manager at the front desk. I worked for 5 years at one restaurant in New York, steakhouse, and I actually really loved my job. At one point I thought that I'm gonna go to school for hospitality. Maybe I took some classes for sommelier. I thought that maybe it somehow involved in me like owning some sort of food establishment at one point in my life. But then I had a completely different shift in my life where I realized that I don't want to work nights anymore. And then I met someone, fell in love, and I realized that lifestyle is not for me anymore. And then there was a period in my life where I was just searching, looking for different ideas. I didn't really know what I want to do. And then at one point, just an idea came to my mind, and I decided that I'm gonna go in the floral industry. So I went and I worked for someone. At that time, I already had an idea for opening my own business. And while I was working for a company, I worked on my own business, on putting a website, putting a product together. And then eventually when I got everything ready, I left and I started my own business. So since 2016, I own floral business, online floral business in New York City.
Oh, nice. So people go online, they order flowers for their girlfriend when they got into a fight and they have to make up, and you send the flowers.
Exactly, and I
That's
send
cool.
the flowers. Yeah.
So, but are you acting kind of as a middleman? Because obviously you're out here in California, so you have people out there that get the flowers together and.
Exactly. At this moment, I have 2 employees, freelance employees, that I received an order, I send it to them, and they fulfill the orders.
Nice.
The freelance base.
That's cool. And I know also you're an influencer as well,
Yes.
right? So that's a pretty interesting topic that we kind of wanted to discuss with you and talk about. It's so prevalent now, social media. We talked about that on one of our podcasts about how social media is affecting, life and culture as it is, and that's something that you're heavily involved in. So.
Yeah, so we wanted to bring you on because I think that there still is in our generation kind of a split idea on social media being a career. Obviously it is a huge career and it's a growing industry and it is worth a lot of money. But people from the generation before us don't necessarily see or understand how it is, because it's almost as if they're soaking in the entertainment, but then they don't really understand how the industry actually works, how much work it is. And I think the reason for that is because people don't really understand what an influencer is. So we wanted to bring you on as our special guest because you have such a great background of where you came from, what you want to do, but then also being an influencer as well and building that into your everyday life. So what is an influencer?
Let me bring up the word influencer and describe it in a way that everyone can understand. Is the person that you kind of follow and you feel relate to. The person that tells you, for example, I like that product, and you're like, oh, let me see if that fits for me as well. It's the person that makes you want to buy the products that they use or the service, whatever it is at that moment. The person that influences you, not necessarily the person, could be the thing that influences you. So this is something that drives sale. You influence on something and you get the sale.
Yeah, it's a huge industry. I mean,
massive.
People don't realize how big of an industry it is, but there's people who make a complete living off Instagram alone. And there's Instagram, there's Twitter, there's Facebook, there's Snapchat. Now they're monetizing Snapchat, you know, by doing ads on there. And the only reason I know this is because I see it. You know, I see people that I follow, that I interact with, you know, like a sports star on Instagram, which you would think Instagram's a social media where they're just here to post about what's going on in their life. And then you see them plugging in and posting the car that they got, an Aston Martin, or, you know, their headphones, Bose headphones. So it's like they're getting paid just through that. It's like you're a star athlete already making millions and you're using social media to make money off too. But there's also then, you know, regular everyday people, of course, like yourself, who have just gained popularity on social media, and they're able to then monetize it or do collaborations and things like that to be an influencer and to promote different products and stuff. So it's very interesting.
So what are your goals with being an influencer? Because I imagine just like any other career.
Well, let's start with how did you get there? Can we
I want to
start there?
yeah, exactly that. I want to came back to the part where I started my own business. That's when I focused on actually like having someone behind the brand. Like people don't buy things anymore just because of the beautiful advertisement or beautiful brand. They want to know who's behind that. So I started taking care of the way I present myself, the things that I post on my personal Instagram, on personal social media, because I know that's what people, my clients will see. They want to know who that person is. So the point where I started to invest in more time and taking it more serious was when I started my own business, because I realized I can drive sales from my personal account to my business account.
That's so cool.
And people see who is that person. People want to know what that person does, how did that person started that business, how does she grow. I have a lot of friends in New York that always constantly ask me like, can you recommend me, how did you start this, where did you go? Like, it's a networking and people want to learn from you. It's a big community. It's just the way.
So you kind of started trying to make your personal Instagram into an influencer Instagram because you had this business and you were then promoting your business through that, and you were driving
it's
sales
a cross
through that.
promotion because I realized I started business and I started reaching out to influencers, and I was receiving a lot of emails saying that, okay, for one post I'm taking this amount of money and this amount of money, and I'm like, I'm a small business, I don't have that much budget for that. Like, I'm not capable of paying that much money. Plus that influencer, probably the audience that will see that post is not that high. Second, the audience that live in New York City and in Manhattan, where I offer my service, is only 2%. So for me to pay someone crazy amount of money and receiving the revenue there was no guarantee. So I decided, let me just promote taking care of my social media, because I live in New York and people that mostly follow me, they live in New York.
So then they'll see it.
So they'll see it, exactly.
That's such an interesting point that you make, because in the law field, in where we are, I took a course and the professor was talking about how you can market yourself as an attorney through social media to get clients, because you know, in the legal field it's the same as it is in the flower field or anywhere else, where you need to get clients. Now of course some places not so much, like what Sabrina does. She doesn't need to be actively out there really trying to get clients, but
that is not true.
I mean, you should, right? But
yes, you absolutely should.
But for like a family law attorney or a personal injury attorney, a lot of their business, of what they do is going to be trying to get clients. And
That's true. Mm-hmm.
so you, the
It's
course
a
was,
small business owner.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
small business owner. That's why I'm saying it relates. It's
Yeah.
interesting, no one would ever think that, but what you did was you turned yourself into an influencer to help drive business, and that's exactly what my professor was saying. Market yourself as an attorney. Once you be like, I'm not one, but once you become an attorney, market yourself as an attorney. Post things about that at your work. Post things that are people who might be interested in knowing about the legal field, like some law and your cases and things like that. And then that will help draw in business either from the people you already know who are being reinforced in your brain, in their brain, just like you're saying, all the people you knew on social media were from New York. So if you're posting flowers and influential type things like that, they're going to be reinforced when they're thinking, oh, I need to get flowers for my girlfriend that I just cheated on. They're going to be thinking, it'll remind them, oh, I just saw Katya's post the other day about this flower business. Then they go to that and that's who they're going to choose. Same thing with lawyers in the legal field. You're posting about, doing that type of stuff and it will reinforce the people you know.
People are really interested in the convenience of education right now. Like Google.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody wants information at their fingertips.
Exactly.
And that's what you assist with striving for in social media, right? Is making the world an open world, open communication with more people all at the same time, where we weren't able to do that.
Exactly, and people don't buy product as the product anymore. That's the biggest thing in the marketing that has changed in the past couple of years. People buy a storytelling. You buy product, you want to know how that was made, that it's organic, where it was manufactured, who's behind. Yes, you just don't buy the things anymore just because it's different.
And think of other like old school, I guess, influencers. Oprah. This is just a much easier and bigger scale of being able to do the same exact thing that Oprah did, who is one of the richest women in the world.
Yeah. Well, that's what's so cool about it. It's so easy. Any person on the street could become an influencer by posting about and reviewing their products or whatever, hashtagging this, tagging that. One question I was going to ask you is, you said when you started your flower business, you were reaching out to other influencers because you wanted to have them market and promote for you, and they were telling you prices back. Could you talk a little bit about, do you know much about the pricing? Because I'm kind of curious how much that type of stuff costs.
I think that's everybody's, that's a general consensus of being the skepticism of social media is, how do you make money off of that?
Well, there is a different price tag for everything. When I started reaching out in 2016, prices were not even remotely to where they are at this moment.
Prices are going up.
Prices are going up, but at the same time, depending for who. For A-list influencers, they're above $10,000.
A-list, are you considering an A-list influencer a celebrity?
No,
or
it's
just
people,
someone with lots of followers?
People that started 5 years ago.
Okay.
I would say people that started Instagram at the very, very core, where there were no even such word as influencers. There was only bloggers. They were starting. They were not taken seriously. People that started 5 years ago and stayed consistency, they're A-list. They have over a couple million followers. That is starting from 10,000 to 25,000. They're making millions a year.
Yeah.
I did reach out to big bloggers like that. Obviously, I did not hear anything from them in
So
return.
you reached out to some of these bigger people, but you never
I never
got a
heard.
response.
What did you reach out to them for?
I wanted to send them a product and for them to post a picture of that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Do the advertisement. But at that time, there was not even such thing as there was, but it was at the very core, at the beginning. It wasn't it's sponsored or anything. You would just put a picture. It was at that time. Okay, I remember. It was at that time when you used to tag something and that worked.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, if you tag a brand, it doesn't work unless you put a description, unless you tag, unless you write in the caption about that brand. That the person will tag. Right now, people don't tag that much as they used to do before. Because it's oversaturated. Everyone tags so
Everybody
many brands.
tags everything. Yeah.
And you looked at the picture, there's 50 tags. Like,
Wait.
I will never tag that.
So just back up, because you might understand it more so than even me or
Yeah.
like some of the people we're trying to reach out to, right? So what do you mean by, if you, let's say, tag Nike, right? It doesn't necessarily do what? Like, you're not necessarily getting what benefit out of it.
Let's say, like, that's how the influencers, like fashion bloggers started. They would wear fashion clothes or any brands, and they would tag them. And other people were like, oh, where did you get that? They go by tag. Oh, I know that brand, I'm gonna get them. And then influencers started reaching out to those like brands, like I use your product, I love that product, let's collaborate. So at first people would just like get the products back, and then they start seeing like more and more interest. So like, I can make money out of them, out of just tagging a brand. I would wear that shirt, I tag it, I know that pretty much all of my friends will ask, oh, where did you get it? It looks cute, let me like see what that brand does also. And you would get paid for that. Unfortunately,
If you automatically tag.
if you tag, yeah.
Okay.
So at that point, when I was reaching out to the brands, I was like, could you please post a picture and tag me? I did not ask, at that time there was no Instagram stories, I did not ask them to write a caption. I was just like, let's say you woke up, there's a beautiful morning, you're drinking coffee, and there's like flowers, just tag me, and that would work.
And who did you get paid from?
She's you're
I would reach out to the influencers, but they would ask money. They're like, okay, like if you want me to tag, it would be like the lowest I ever got. It was I think it was $250. The highest at that time was $800 for just a tag.
Someone wanted $250.
Yeah.
So you'd have to send them free flowers
Free flowers.
and $250. They would post a picture and just tag your flower company.
Correct.
And how many followers roughly did that person have, or do you know?
I
Do you
had
remember?
different experiences. I had experience, for example, when someone tagged me and without the day I gained like 3,000, 5,000 followers, because at that time it worked. Right now, if I send something, it still works, but not at that scale anymore. And there was times when I sent like a blogger that had over like 200,000 followers, and she tagged me, and I only got 10 followers. That was like my worst case, because I was like, then I started taking it seriously in terms of like how much fake stuff is there, how many fake likes, how many fake comments there are. So then when I digged in so deep to learn what is in the core of the actual business.
So what we were just discussing are all the money that you have to dish out to get your business
Yes.
as an influencer going, right?
Yes.
So at what point does an influencer start to make money?
Yeah.
It's a good question. I don't have one answer for that. You can make money tomorrow,
Okay.
but
I
for
only
someone,
have 300 followers.
Yeah.
I don't think I could make any money.
yes, you
Right.
can. I would say like the benchmark to start like actually trying to make a living would be 10,000 followers,
Okay.
real followers. But right now the market has changed, and smaller influencer can get even more brand deals, because brands are focusing in 2018 and 2019 more on like smaller influencer, because they have a niche audience. Let's say, for example, myself as a brand, when I reach out to someone, I want the person to live in New York. I want the person to live, for example, like somewhere in, like within the 5 boroughs of Manhattan, and I want the person to like work in New York. So I know that the majority of people that follow that person is from that city. So if they see the product, they like it, they can offer and they can get it. I'm not gonna go to influencer that has an amazing feed, has an amazing, for example, audience that lives in Nashville, for example, because I'm not gonna get any traffic that I can use.
Right.
There's no revenue. That person could be an amazing influencer, an amazing marketer, but that's not my audience. That's not my niche that I want to try to reach.
You know what I can't help myself from stopping thinking about throughout this whole conversation is about like copyright, because you're talking about how you were sending products to someone, your flowers, and they were taking a picture and tagging you, and you were paying. Did you ever end up paying someone or no?
No, I
You
was
didn't?
lucky enough that I was just because my
You were
product.
just trading a product.
I was trading, and the product was new in the market. There were not that many companies at that time that were doing the same thing. So
it was possible then.
Yes.
But
Okay.
that's not something that's all that possible now.
it's still possible. People still take free product because there's so many new bloggers that want to just get in the industry. So they're ready to work for free. They're ready to work for you. But I just
Yeah. But what that makes me start thinking about those, like these brands that are either paying someone, let's say a brand that pays someone. If Nike came to you and was like, I'm gonna give you a pair of shoes and pay you $250 to make a post and tag us. My question is then, who would own that photograph that you posted on your Instagram? Would Nike be able to take that photograph and post it in an advertisement on the television, on their website? You know, could they do it, or who owns it? So that's an interesting topic, but I think you're right. You know, based on what I know on copyright law, I think that if they're paying the person to post it, then Nike would own the photograph, and the person who took the picture would just be considered what they call work for hire under copyright law, and so they would just be getting paid. Now, if you're just trading and you're giving them a product and there's no agreement. And I have some friends who do mommy type blogging and vlogging, and so sometimes they get free products and they then post the product, a pacifier for my little daughter, and then they can post it and they tag it. If they're just getting the free product though, that begs the question of whether the company, the brand, actually owns that photograph, and whether they could then take it and post it on a commercial on the television or online and things like that. I know if they paid, they would. But now, if you just posted a picture that you're not doing any type of brand advertisement, and I was looking at your Instagram, you post lots of very cool, aesthetically pleasing pictures, and someone wanted to take that and then post it on their Instagram.
Usually, I get that a lot. For example, I tag a brand, clothing brand. They would reach out via direct message to me, and they're like, "Oh, we love the picture. Can we repost?"
So they ask you.
They ask always, and I want them to repost because that brings more traffic to my link. Let's say that someone sees on their Instagram, they will tag, for example, or if they write a caption, they put me, and then I can get more traffic from that as well.
Can you get paid from that?
For the reposting, I don't think so, unless they put that picture on their website and it's like
I understand.
then it's a different conversation.
Right.
That I would be like, okay, you're using not my picture, you're using my face. You know what I mean? You're using me as a model to advertise your product.
Right.
That's a different type
That's
of
a
conversation.
different conversation, right?
So,
But yeah, based on my knowledge of copyright law, if you just take a picture of yourself, and this applies to normal people like me and you, and we post it on our Instagram, we still own the copyright to that. We're not giving it up by putting it on Instagram and putting it out there in the public. So for anyone to then repost it, yeah, they would have to ask you, which makes sense how you're saying people do ask you to repost. And in your case, obviously you enjoy the publicity that you're getting from being reposted. It helps you build. So you're not seeking any money. But if you wanted the money, you could say, no, you can't use my photograph unless you're paying. And definitely if they started using it in different media outlets, like on their website or on television or something like that, you would own the rights to that photograph, and they should have to pay you for that to be able to license to use
they
that.
cannot use your content on their websites promoting their product without you agreeing and having some sort of contract for that. That's basically you're stealing content.
So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Fire Festival.
I've heard about that.
Okay. So I recently learned about the Fire Festival and I watched the documentary.
Yeah, I heard there was a documentary out there. What's it called?
Fire Festival.
On Netflix?
Yeah, it's on Netflix, and it was really good. Basically, it was a music festival that was supposed to be promoted and sponsored by Ja Rule, an entire team, and this guy, Billy McFarland. And they went out to an island in the Bahamas with the intention of coming up with some type of festival.
Like a Coachella type festival.
Right, like a Coachella type festival, and they ended up having like a 3-day party on the island with about 60 people. And what they did was they used that party to shoot for the commercials and the advertisement for the festival. and it came out really, really, really good. And it was all these Instagram
Looked
models.
really cool. Yeah, I
All
remember
the
seeing the
Victoria's
ads.
Secret
and-
models.
And
yeah,
it looked really cool.
Influencers
Right.
were part
so,
of that promotion and stuff.
Right. So basically, they launched all of those photos and videos, and it blew up, and it sold out overnight, or within maybe 48 hours.
Crazy.
And this guy, Billy, who was supposed to be the investor, finding the investors, was supposed to be the CEO of this fire company, pretty much dropped the ball, but is also a scam artist, so he was easily able to get money from investors to fund the whole thing, only up until a certain point, until it all started falling apart.
Yeah.
So the day one of the festival comes, and they've got people that have been complaining on the internet, asking, I don't know where I'm supposed to fly in, I need to know all these questions about the accommodations, the size of the tents, what it's going to have, what type of running water there's going to be. And ultimately, the island that they chose was a last-minute island out of desperation that had no water, no food, no facility, no structures, no bathrooms. And they just set up these tents. It looked like a concentration camp.
Yeah, so I remember seeing, at the time, it was big news all
There was
over
that
social
scandal.
media.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember seeing the pictures. It looked horrible.
Well, all that entire mess ended up ending up in litigation, and they filed a $100 million class action against fire. And I guess there's a lot of people who have actually opted out of the class action and have been awarded about $5 million.
So just to clarify for people who don't know, the class action is when a bunch of people are suing one or two other people. So it could be, there's a class action, could be 1,000 people, it could be, I think the minimum is like 10 or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's class action is going to be as little as like 10, 15 people. It just has to have a similar interest, and it has to be efficient enough that it makes sense to put it in one class.
Mhm.
But you don't have to be part of the
You
class.
can opt out and sue on your own.
Right. And there's usually a financial incentive to that. If you win, you know, you run the risk, but if you win, you can make a lot of money. And a lot of these people, they ended up getting $5 million
So who opted out?
in settlements for fraud. And a lot of those people who ended up needing these settlements were also influencers. Because the influencers were used to promote Fire Festival, and everybody wanted to promote Fire Festival because it looked amazing. And there were so many big names that were behind this festival that invested into it that everybody wanted to go into it. So the influencers were hashtagging it as Fire Festival. They got sued as well.
Yeah. I think that
Because you advertise something that is a scam.
Yeah, so, you know, I was thinking that maybe, not that you know much about that, because nobody should ever have to know much about litigation, but you know, what that kind of means legally when you're advertising for a company and being an influencer, and making sure that you're taking steps to educate yourself, number one, on what you're getting yourself into, because I'm sure those influencers never thought in a million years that they would get personally
they're just going
sued.
and partying and taking pictures and posting it on their personal Instagram. They're not thinking I can get sued for what this company does. But it's true, you could possibly have liability. So as an influencer yourself, if a brand reaches out to you or you're promoting something, you do need to think about that. All influencers should be thinking about that. And the Fire Festival obviously made people, it kind of probably redefined how you can advertise on Instagram and stuff.
Can you imagine the mess it probably took to sort through who was an influencer and who was not for the purposes of suing? Because every single person who hashtagged Fire Festival was
advertising.
advertisement. So that whole lawsuit had to take that investigation very seriously, because now you're filing lawsuits on behalf of what I think, even as a business defense attorney, are innocent people. You know, who are just not educating themselves enough on what the damage could be. So I was doing a little bit of research. None of these are my own. This is not legal advice at all whatsoever. But I was reading some suggestions from the FTC that the FTC has given to employers and big businesses that run social media accounts, and say, make sure you are disclosing material information about what your relationship is like between the corporation and the influencer. And that goes for the influencer as well. You want to make sure that if you're partnering with this company, hashtag partner is not enough. You almost need to do hashtag a full sentence that explains what it is. So hashtag I have partnered with company Joe Smith Inc. for purposes of advertisement only. And they say to be very detailed because you don't want to get yourself caught up in something that you never even imagined could happen.
Exactly, and it's also your reputation. It's the most important. People like don't realize that you see these beautiful images, you see all this like the glam around that, but the most important part of social media is like gaining influence and gaining reputation. Because if you don't have reputation, if you have bad reputation, those images are like nothing. No one is gonna like look at them and like feel related or like even like follow you, because like they don't care about your opinion. If you recommend something that doesn't work, that is like low quality, like I'll immediately unfollow you and I would zero interest in you, because like why you advertise something that is just like bad.
I wonder what happened to the influencers that were promoting the Fire Festival. I keep wanting to call it Fire Festival, who got sued. Like, I wonder if they're still doing influencing, or whether that left a bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, like I see a lot more times on Instagram, and I don't really follow like many influencers or anything, but I do still see like my friends who do blogging and stuff, they'll hashtag ad, like advertisement ad. I think I've seen like probably Kim Kardashian and those girls doing that more now too, when before, like you're saying, like several years ago when it wasn't as big and you were reaching out to people and it was totally different, they, you know, I don't think people were really doing it. But yeah, it is important, obviously, legal ramifications. No one would have ever thought all these influencers, which were probably a bunch of hot chicks in bikinis, like Instagram models, they're like, oh yeah, I'm getting paid to promote or getting a free trip to go to this island and I'm going to promote this festival. Never in a million years were they thinking this festival is going to be a complete disaster. People are going to be seriously like wronged, harmed, and they're going to sue, and I'm going to be on the hook because I was promoting it.
There were guests in the Bahamas airport that were stuck in the airport, and they showed videos of them chaining up the doors to the airport overnight, waiting for planes to come and get these people, because when they canceled the festival, like day 2, people were still coming in and they just sent everybody home. But it's because it's the Bahamas, they didn't plan for flights to go out of the Bahamas back to
people,
God knows where, all over the world. So there were videos of people in the airport saying there's no food, there's no water, this is ridiculous, it's scorching hot outside, there are mosquitoes everywhere. It's quite the production. And you know, I love that show American Greed. Did you guys ever watch American Greed?
No.
I love American Greed because it's kind of like Fire Festival, just different stories of people who are really greedy, who have mental instability, but access to a lot of money, and they fuck people over because they want to make a buck.
Wow.
And even if making that buck is so temporary, right? It's the experience. Because that guy, Billy, that went down for all this, I think he ended up going to prison for at least 7 years.
That's crazy that he actually is doing time.
Yeah, he's
You'd
doing
think it would have just
time.
been monetary.
Right, no, he's doing time. And all for a little bit of partying and a couple months of heaven and trying to make a little bit of money and then being left with $0.
So now do you still want to be an influencer? You probably just want to, after this story, you just want to delete your Instagram and be done with it.
Funny thing you ask, I actually, I don't want to have the influencer hashtag on myself. I try to kind of like show myself as the normal person, because I want few people to relate. I want them like, even like with my YouTube channel, I want it to be like, it's a normal person and they just like see how I grow, what I do to become a better person, what I do to promote my business, just a normal person living a normal life. Because how many celebrities do you follow? A lot, right? You don't need another person to tell you that's an amazing product. You need someone who understands you. You need someone who you like that's just a nice person, like kind person that you want to around, be like, feel like it's your friend. That's my approach. Like I want my audience, and I want to be close with my audience. I want to be friends with you. That's my thing. Like I don't want you to look at my pictures and be like, oh, she has like a ton of like luxury brands. She goes to like super fancy places.
Yeah.
Because that's in the core. That's not me. You're not gonna feel related. It's just like everything else that you see out there, anyways. So why am I gonna show you the same thing again?
That's
Do
cool.
you want to be an influencer full time?
I wouldn't say no, and I wouldn't say yes. I think it's a mix. I still want to see myself as a career path, like growing my business or growing in another field. But I want to do blogging as a hobby. For me, it's more like an art. I express myself throughout video, throughout picture. So this is my creative part. If that picks up and gives me an opportunity to make full-time job, absolutely. Of course, every artist wants to make money with their talent. But if it wouldn't, I don't want it to make a mass market. I don't want it to be like everyone else doing. This is just me. I want to have my line. I am the way I am. If it sells, amazing. If it doesn't, I don't want to become as everyone else, because why? Why create something that is out there already?
Yeah.
Right.
There's so many people out there. The market's really saturated with all these people who are trying to become influencers,
Exactly.
Instagram models, bloggers, photographers, and stuff. So I think that's a very good idea. Just stay genuine, and
Yes.
that's cool.
Pick
So
your
if
niche
you-
and stick with this.
So if you didn't do being an influencer full time, then what would you do?
Since I started my own business, and my business is a visual product, it's flyers, I realized how much I care about the visual things. And I love to market. I love to present something in a way that you like it, you want to hear the story behind that product. It's just, I would be like, it's funny thing, I was joking another day, I should be a packaging company. I should create packages for
Hey,
a
that's
product.
not a bad idea.
Because I will never buy anything that doesn't look aesthetically pleasing. That's to me is number one.
You like the packaging's important to you?
Yes.
Packaging is a really big deal.
It's a
it
really
really
big deal.
is.
For a guy, it's not.
It's not. So, but for a girl, and it's
I
again
think
why
even for
Instagram
men
is a
it
big
is.
thing, because it's a visual product.
Yes.
I think even for men, packaging means a lot.
When it's marketed in the right way,
Right.
it is-
Yeah, but no, I mean it's crazy how much our society and our culture has switched to visual. We want to see visuals. You know, we want to get our advertising and our news in a visual, in a video, in a photograph. You know, we don't want to read it anymore in a newspaper. We want to see a video. We want to see a picture.
So would you work for a company that did that? What type of work would it be?
I'm trying to get like in the marketing. I want to do more marketing, and eventually maybe we'll go in a different path, still in that niche. But like either it would be like making another product or continue growing my own business. It would be something in the market field. That's
Okay.
something.
Marketing.
Yeah, marketing.
It's
If
all
you
those
ask me
creative
5
careers
Yes, in
that I know
5
nothing
years,
about.
I see myself in that field, growing, and just staying consistent. It's very important.
One other thing that I thought was pretty interesting, we briefly touched on before we started recording, was about social media for you growing up. So you grew up in Ukraine, you lived there till you were like 20, right?
Yes.
And so we were saying how like our generation, me and Sabrina, we're 30, you know, we were at that generation where we kind of started growing up with it around 15, 16 years old. MySpace is coming out. And so we kind of have, for the last 15 years, had social media been a part of our lives. And you were saying how it's not really in the Ukraine that much a part of people's lives growing up.
It was, but let me start with the thing that I got my first phone, not cell phone, just a little phone, like black and white, when I was in high school. So I was an adult already. And then VK,
What is it?
V-Contact. It's like
V-Contact?
V-Contact, yes. It's a Russian
V-Contacts?
contact. It's
Contact.
like, it means like a
V-Contact.
connection.
It means
Contact.
connection.
Connection, yeah. Just with a, starts with a V. I don't know.
V-Contact.
Got it.
That's, what is it?
It's the same thing, like
Same thing as what?
Facebook,
It's like
but
Facebook.
there you could watch video, you can download music. It was like everything that all the different social medias we have right now. There you could do everything. You could post pictures, you can post status, you can download, you can watch movies. I mean, you can download videos, music, pictures. You can watch movie. You can listen to music.
That sounds
Those
more
whole-
advanced than what we have.
Yeah, so
Yes.
that's a social
Yeah.
media site for the Ukraine.
Yeah,
And
it
that
was-
came out a long time ago.
Yes, long time ago. I don't think people use it that much anymore for a legal reason with what happened in Russia. But before it started as obviously social media, texting, posting pictures of yourself,
It's
and
like Facebook.
yeah, it's
That's
like
interesting.
Facebook. But then it became something like I would go to school and I would headphones and I would listen to music throughout the V contact. You can do that.
Wow.
Yeah, or
You
I
can't
would-
do that on Facebook
No,
or Instagram.
all the movies.
So it's like a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
It's a
Do you-
social media where you can also listen to music and watch videos. So this
Awesome.
is like a Russian social media.
Yes.
And you grew up with that?
Yes, I grew up with that.
How old were you when you first started going?
High
Yeah.
school. High
What
school.
year? What year do you think it came out?
I think it came out somewhere between 2008 and 2010 or 2007.
So, but people don't really use it that much anymore. Do you still go on it?
The thing is, like, you can legally use it in Ukraine.
You can't.
You cannot anymore
Why?
due to the things that has happened between Russia and Ukraine. And
So the Ukraine government said you can't use
You
this social
cannot.
media anymore
legally you cannot.
because we don't like Russia and it's a Russian company.
Sort of. I don't know what exactly
I'm
the
sure it's
deal
much more
is.
complicated
There
than
is
that.
Of course, it's much more
much
complicated
more
than that. But I'm just
complicated.
like,
I think it
trying-
happened because Russian government took over the app. They stole it.
Oh,
the
wow.
Russian government took over the
Yeah,
social
no, it
media.
was
Oh
like a
my
big
God.
deal. It was a big deal. The guy,
We should follow up on this.
the
Yeah,
guy
this is an
that
interesting legal topic
created
starting
that
to-
thing, he had to run away from Russia at some point.
The inventor. That'd be
Yeah.
like if Mark Zuckerberg had to leave the United States and the
Right.
United States took over
It was like a-
Facebook.
Oh my god.
Then a different government like Mexico's like, we're not letting any Mexicans use Facebook anymore because the U.S. government owns it and we hate the U.S. government.
Exactly.
Wait a minute. Okay, so we need to definitely follow up on this conversation because the idea that the government owns anything in social media is
Trippy.
really bizarre to me.
Yes, and that's why people start using in the messages there because everything.
The government was reading their
Yeah,
messages.
yeah, exactly. So people switch to Facebook. So now,
This is hilarious.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is
And
crazy.
it's-
Obviously, it's something here in the United States we would never even think could ever happen.
Yeah.
yeah,
And now you're talking about that happened. When did that happen?
that happened when I was already in America. That's why I don't know
Okay.
the exact story.
You were already here living in
I was
America. You were
already-
using Facebook
I
and
was using
Instagram.
Facebook, and there was just like not that much need for that anymore. Like,
Yeah, so
in
you
my-
weren't really involved
yeah,
in it,
I was
but-
not even involved, but that happened between 2010, 2014, 2012, 2014,
Right.
somewhere.
Do most of your family members and friends that still live in Ukraine use Facebook and Instagram, or what are they using as far as social
Well, another thing I'm gonna tell you. So Pavel Durnikov, I think that's exactly how you pronounce it. He created a new app which
Who's
calls Telegram. It's the founder of
media?
VKontakte.
Oh, okay. He started a new.
Telegram?
Telegram.
Okay.
This is the app you can
I'm about to download it.
send high. You can send like large files,
hmm
and it doesn't lose the quality.
Oh.
So you can send movies, you can send like files, PDF, everything. You can pretty much like everything you have on your laptop, you can send it over through the app.
We probably
Wow.
should be using
Yeah,
it
it's
for
an
our
amazing-
So the
podcast.
person who started your VCom talk,
He's not the owner of the VKontakte anymore, I
he
believe.
started it, and now he started this new app, and people. That's how you communicate with
Yeah.
people in Ukraine.
So now I communicate through them via Viber, through just like the phone, it's an application. But I don't have any social media in Ukraine that I use anymore.
So is WhatsApp like a really old app that people don't use?
People use WhatsApp
Okay.
a lot. A lot.
That's how
Way
I
more than
communicate
me.
with my friends in Europe.
Mhm.
hmm
And they always say to me, like, especially when I was running the campaign, they would say to me, like, the things that you guys post in America are crazy, or the information that you guys utilize is crazy. Because, like, I had every single registered voter name, address, how they voted in the last couple of years.
Wow.
Because you can just buy that information here. That's just how it is. And when I told my friends in Europe about that, they were like, what? That's crazy. Like, I've never heard of anything like that. They're like, you guys just don't care about what you post on social media or what you know. I'm like, it's not that. We're just not regulated by the government.
So in Europe, they felt like that information is private?
I think social media is a lot more heavily regulated in the sense of privacy in Europe than it is in the United States. Because the whole idea about social media is having an open, free network, right? And that's the idea of the internet. Legally, that's the idea of the internet, is having open, free communication. And yeah, it's just different here. So that's interesting to hear that side of.
Yeah, that story about how the Russian government took over a social media company.
Yes.
And then started reading people's messages and stuff. So people, but then on top of that, the Ukraine government told their people, you can't even use this.
Legally, yeah.
It's against the law.
It's again. I don't know exactly the way they verbally say that, but let's say when you're in Ukraine, you can't just go on VKontakte.
Okay.
You can just
But-
block.
So like, you still have friends and family members who live in Ukraine, right?
Yes.
Are they on Facebook?
Instagram.
They're not on Facebook. They use Instagram.
Some of them are on Facebook, but not the majority, not that much. The majority of people are on Instagram.
Yeah.
Everyone in Ukraine right now is on Instagram.
Really?
Okay.
It caught up much,
Quicker.
not quicker. Like it took a little while for people to get to Instagram, but right now everyone, like literally everyone, is on Instagram.
So I noticed that you have a lot of videos where you speak in either Ukraine or probably Russian, I'm assuming, because you speak Russian as well, right? When you're posting those videos, are they on your Soho Diary Girl page, or do you have a separate page that you run for followers overseas?
It's one page, but I do have two YouTube channels. So one is in Russian and one is in American.
Got it.
And it's just completely different market.
Yeah.
Exactly as you said, like, would you want to be influencer that gets paid for that? So American market is where I can make an income.
Got it.
Russian market, unfortunately, the revenue from there it's a different story. So for me, it's I don't know if you've seen Della Wears Prada. There's a moment when the guy says, "I remember myself being a little kid and being under the blanket with a flashlight, reading Vogue." So it's the same thing. Like, I wanna create content and I wanna show people that I'm a normal person. I didn't grow up in a wealthy family. I'm a normal girl. I just learned English and I had a chance to come here, and I'm a self-made person.
Mm-hmm.
I did everything myself. There was no one who led me to somewhere. Like, I did it myself, and I want to inspire people and like share my experience, because you can do the same thing. Not necessarily moving somewhere, but just like do something with your life. Like, don't have that square that you were taught in Soviet Union that you can't do anything with your life. Like, this is the only path, that thing. That's it.
Right.
That's the way we were raised back there in Soviet Union. You like, if you're different than anyone else, like, something is wrong with you.
Right.
People will look down at you.
And that's kind of what we try to promote here on our podcast is diversity, but not in the sense of just diversity amongst gender or different races, but diversity in different careers and what people our age are doing versus the generation before us, because our times just made a drastic change in the last couple of decades, and how we communicate and what our economy is like. So we welcome you as a guest, because it's been awesome to be able to really talk about a different new up and coming career, and people want to be educated by that, and they want to understand what is the big hype, what is it that I don't understand about it. And I think the takeaway, at least for me, is every day you enjoy social media. You pull up Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and you soak in all the convenient education that you get, and you soak in all the advertisements that you get, and it's easy for you to now navigate yourself through the world. Don't take that for granted, because that is a big up and coming career. It's not even up and coming, it's a present career that makes it possible.
Yes.
It's our future.
It's our current,
Yeah.
and it's present, and it's our future. And I think that we all need to, give you guys a round of applause, because you're making the world a little bit more fun every day, and you inspire us. So thank you.
I love your terminology, convenient education. And I think that's so true. I've never really thought about that too much, but talking with a social media influencer and you bring that up and stuff, it's so true. Like, social media is a convenient education for us. We can see videos about current events. We can get the truth from the people who actually were there, the videos and the pictures of experiencing news, or teaching us about new discoveries and things like that. So that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Good terminology. We're gonna have to continue that
Involved in
that discussion.
Yes.
But thank you. Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. You gave us such an interesting story about your life, and an interesting story about social media and teaching us about influencing. And I think you really hit the nail on the head, talking about how being genuine and being yourself and not trying to post going to fancy restaurants and fancy products and things like that, and being yourself is so important. And that is great advice, because it matters to everyone. Attorneys, influencers, anyone, any profession, an accountant, how you market yourself, and how that can help you become an influencer. And it's important for everyone now to be marketing themselves on social media. You have to.
Right.
So
Yeah. Get yourself out there. It's the world we live in. It's okay,
Get yourself out there, at the same time, stay true to yourself. That's the one thing I always tell myself every single day. Whatever I do in life, social media, business, just being around friends, stay true to yourself, because that's the only way you can be successful. Because if you're gonna be trying to do as that person, you will never be successful, because that person already did and that person already exists. You have your own way. Only just being genuine and true to yourself, you can make it a career, or you can make it whatever you want it to be.
Well, what's your Instagram and your YouTube and stuff? Let's tell the listeners and the viewers so that they can connect with you.
Connect with you.
Yes, my Instagram is Soho Girl Diary.
Soho Girl Diary.
Yes.
Because Soho is like a neighborhood in
Soho,
New York.
yes.
So is that where that comes from?
Exactly. My nickname is Soho Girl, because I lived in Soho for many, many years, and it's my favorite neighborhood in New York.
Nice.
So I just Soho Girl was already taken.
You're gonna have to change it to SoCal Girl Dallas.
Yeah,
now that you
people
live in Los
ask
Angeles,
me.
SoCal,
They do
Southern
ask you?
California.
Yeah.
People always like, so are you gonna stay Soho Girl? I'm like, yes, because in my core, I'm like
You're a New
from.
York
I
girl.
was raised when I moved to New York. I was like still like I was like a doll, but I was like at the beginning of becoming like a person that I am right now. So Soho Girl will always
That's who
be
you
right
are.
there.
Nice. And your YouTube?
And my YouTube is just my first and last name, Katya Bulatova.
Good luck on spelling that, guys. Just go to her Instagram and you get to it from that.
Yeah, there's a link
We're not
directly.
going to try and spell that for you. But thank you so much for joining us. And hopefully we can have you on again in the future.
Yeah,
Talk
thank
more
you for
about all
having
that.
me.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Make sure you subscribe to Not a Lot Legal Podcast also. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Nice.
Bye, guys.